all the flat files end of the day. So, but how you are going to use like we have some tools like Amazon Athena and Redshift data warehousing and inquiry services, or like if you have any other tools like a Splunk, you can integrate with AWS. You can analyze all the logs, Datadog, Cloud Checker. So these are some tools. So how much data you have, you can simply place here for big data kind of applications. Place all your data. So then make the data available to your clusters or servers or any of the third party application. So they will analyze and they will run queries. Okay. So that is the first thing. And second thing, we can use S3 as a FTP also. But by using a service called SFTP, AWS transfer for SFTP. Some organizations will use like that. For example, you have user one, create a bucket with his name. .ftp is a standard we maintain. So we are going to upload a private key when creating that user in transfer SFTP server. So when he get connected by using tools like we have many FTP tools, right? So you can use WinSCP, or we have one of the widely used one. What is that? FTP clients. FileZilla, yeah. FileZilla, I forgot that name. So you can use FileZilla or WinSCP. Then when the user gave the username and password, it is going to show the data only resides or given permissions on what bucket. So again, this will not come under reader eligibility. You are not going to get any question in your certification exam also, but some organizations will use that. So I made a video on that. If you have some time, definitely you can go through that. So when someone asks you how exactly your organization is using this S3, you should not end up, okay, we are using some flat files and we are making it available for a web server. Don't stop there. Not only that, we can use, or we have different tools. Data sync is one of the service. For example, you have some data in on-premise and all the developers are working on that on-premise data. So periodically you want to upload the data to AWS environment. So you have all data in on-premise just for backup purpose. You are maintaining another copy in AWS S3 platform. How we are going to perform that synchronization? We have many third-party tools. Even we can run a simple Windows, schedule task under task scheduler. You can achieve that. But Amazon also have its own service, data sync. By using that, whatever the data you have in on-premise, you can replicate to one of the S3 bucket, or vice versa. Whatever the data in your S3 bucket, you can replicate to on-premise also. So that is a S3 storage. And we have another service called AWS Storage Gateway. That storage gateway I cannot implement and I cannot demonstrate here. The reason is it need to have VMware environment. You need to download one OBA format file. Then you need to deploy that in your organization VMware environment. Then that VM is going to work as intermediate connectivity between your on-premise and AWS. That is going to cache all the data. Whatever the data you have in S3, whatever the data you're accessing frequently, then that is going to cache the data, or vice versa. Or we can use some like a third-party tools like a VTL, virtual tape libraries. If you are whatever the traditional backup mechanism you are using with tape backups, you can eliminate that. You can store all your backups into S3 platform. The service name is AWS Storage Gateway. So again, so here I cannot demonstrate. I need to have vCenter or vSphere at least to deploy that VM. So if you have some chance, if you have any, any environment to practice that, definitely you can give a try. I made a video on that. So otherwise you can just go through that video and keep that use case in mind. Okay, This is a service. Okay, this is what we can perform by using this service. So first one is storage gateway. And under storage itself, you can find AWS backup. These EFS, FSX, we will discuss in our coming sessions. With EC2, we will discuss. Here is a storage gateway. Click on get started. So we have different types: file gateway, volume gateway, tape gateway. File gateway means all data is going to be stored in S3, and this, whatever the VM you are going to deploy, it is going to cache all the data. Frequently accessing data is going to cached by this VM, your own VM instead of edge location. Volume gateway. Here, cached volumes and stored volumes. In simple, stored volume means whatever the data you have in on-premise, it is going to create a backup in AWS. And this is vice versa. This one, tape gateway. Whatever the existing software you are using to take backups, so along with that, you can use this tape gateway and you can directly store all backups into your S3 bucket. So select that, click on next. Now, based on your environment, you need to select this. You need to go with VMware ESXi, Hyper-V, Hyper-V, and Amazon EC2. So you need to launch a instance. Again, these will not come under filter eligibility. You need to, again, whenever you are selecting EC2, you need to have that VPN or direct connect, AWS direct connect. I'll talk about that in a minute. So make sure you remember that service name, storage gateway. It is a service connecting an on-premise software appliance with cloud-based storage to provide seamless and secure integration. So this is nothing but hybrid cloud. You are establishing communication between both the public cloud as well as your on-premise. So by using this application, you can design hybrid scenario. First one. Second one is AWS backup. So create a backup, assign where do you want to, how you want to, then manage. So we will talk about these services, but we can periodically take a backup. And AWS transfer for SFTP. When coming to this, you need to create a FTP server. Then you need to create some users. Then you need to allocate that. Again, SFTP server per hour 30 cents and SFTP data transfer cost is this. So it will not come under filter eligibility. So just remember that service names. So we can use S3 for all these purposes also. Okay. So that is what select from option on our S3 bucket. We can run queries on our data. And when coming to direct connect, when coming to this AWS direct connect, it is a dedicated connectivity between our on-premise network to AWS environment. See, if you want to upload some data, you definitely need internet connectivity. So all your data is going to flow over the internet. Agree or not? Right? But I really don't want to send any data over internet. Without internet connectivity also, or I really don't want to use my existing bandwidth to access my S3 data. So in that case, we can get a AWS direct connect. Amazon is going to give you a dedicated cable connectivity. A fiber cable is going to fetch to our organization. Again, they are not going to fetch from Mumbai or Northern Virginia. They have partner network across the globe. If you are taking Hyderabad, they partnered with Reliance Jio, Sifi Networks, Bharati Airtel. These are like a Mumbai regions ones. So you can, like Amazon is going to give a cable from that particular network, and how much bandwidth you are selecting, based on that you are going to get charged. Per hour, connectivity cost, how much bandwidth you required, how much data transferring. Again, that is only some organizations will use that feature. Small and medium range organization cannot offer that basically, and they really don't require such type of complex networks. But Some organizations will definitely use that. That service name is AWS Direct Connect. So again, you need to configure a couple of things. You need to create a connection, and Amazon is going to place a device in our network. So create a connection, download authorization letter from management console. So provide get connected with APN, and they are going to provide and they are going to configure network connectivity between these networks. So this is involved with a lot of manual steps. We need to contact the partner. We need to sign an agreement and all, letter of agreement and all. So remember that service name is AWS Direct Connect. Okay. So without internet connectivity also, yes, you can access all your resources. Without using your internet bandwidth, if you want to upload something, if you want to download something, go with that option. And in exam, sometimes you may get a question like this. The question is like, you want to upload like 30 GB of the data or 50 GB of the data, and you want to upload within 1 week. So what option you are going to choose? Like, is going to give a couple of options like upload over the internet and get a snowball device, or get a AWS Direct Connect. So first thing, not a huge data. 30 GB or 50 GB is not a huge data. Snowball device, again, it involved with cost, and you need to get the device, you need to copy, then you need to ship within 1 week. That is not possible. Less chances. Direct connect, it's like 15 to 20 days it is going to take. So suddenly you cannot choose that direct connect as an answer. So far we do not have that connection. We have some data, let's assume 1 TB or 2 TB. Again, we will prefer over internet only. 1 TB you can upload in 3 days. You have good internet connectivity. So go with internet in that scenario. The same is going to give 30 TB or 40 TB. When he gave 30 TB or 40 TB, using internet, it is going to take a month, right? Instead of wasting bandwidth for a month, get a snowball device, transfer all the data. That is another use case. If he is giving a question, same question, but he is not maintaining any size and all, but he is saying like you want to seamlessly access. Seamlessly you want to upload without using your existing bandwidth. So then go with the direct connect. Again, exabytes, petabytes, go with the Snowmobile. So how much data quantity is talking about, based on that you need to choose. Okay. So these are a couple of points I want to mention. So let's quickly discuss about certification questions. So I'm expecting some quick answers here, guys. Okay. Okay, right. Okay, so then here, select 2 answers, not just one. You're not even looking that. Try to answer, Arvind. Sorry? Contact AWS support. Oh, seriously? What they will tell? Your account is already compromised. Yeah. What they will do? They will not have any access on your resources. Don't fix any issues. They will give 2 suggestions from this. Rotate passwords and access keys. So if you are changing your passwords and access keys, the existing user will disconnect and he really don't know the updated password. So first thing is right, then. So if you are moving resources to different region, does that make any big difference? No. CloudTrail resources, if you delete CloudTrail resources, what happens? That CloudTrail is logs. You are deleting logs. What will happen? Contact AWS support? They won't do. They will tell, okay, you need to take care about these things, but they won't jump and they won't fix issues for you. So make sure you remove MFA tokens and you authenticate with new applications or new tokens. So that end user may have that authentication token. So he may. And this one. B. Sure, everyone. See, Amazon VPC is a boundary within our AWS environment only. Directory service is for authentication, like Active Directory and all. API gateway that works over the internet, and you can run API calls. You can trigger API calls from your code or from your application. So Direct Connect will give connectivity between your on-premise and AWS environment. That is what hybrid cloud is. So B is the right answer. Yeah. So then this one. So in IAM entities, in CLI, access key ID and secret access key is associated with which of the following identity and access managed entity is associated with an access key ID and secret access key when using CLI? See, for an IAM user only, we are going to get an access key ID and secret access key. For group, no. For role, we have not yet discussed, so I don't. Policy, written in JSON format, but we are not going to get any, right? So we are going to use that for. So again, this dedicated connectivity from internal network to AWS. AWS direct connect. Again. Okay. So which of the following is the responsibility of AWS? Recall the shared responsibility model. See, that is AWS responsibility. See, I'll tell you. Once you launched any resource, it is completely your responsibility to configure it securely and maintaining the resources. Read all that and try to understand. You can answer that. But what is AWS responsibility? While launching, we need to configure security settings that we are going to discuss like tomorrow actually. Okay. Security settings means like a security groups. We need to configure that. I am telling D is not right answer. I am telling you D is not right answer. So first one, creating IAM users and groups, whose responsibility? Our responsibility. Okay. So every hardware will have its own lifetime, right? Let's assume one hardware device lifetime is end, and that device is in AWS data center. They are not going to throw away like that. They need to decommission that device with particular industry standards. So are you doing that anywhere? Are you getting any hardware access or any data center access? See, IAM users and groups, we are getting access, we are managing that. Security groups, I told you we need to configure that. I'll show you tomorrow. And this patching guest of operating system, whenever you launch any server, first step it will tell you, okay, update your operating system with latest patches. we need to update periodically. We have different services, systems manager and all, to update 100 of the servers with a single clicks. But we are performing that. So we are nowhere performing related to anything the physical hardware level, right? So in this case, AWS responsibility is scrubbing all the memory if any user terminated the resources, physically destroying all the hardware devices with industry standard like NIST standard is one of the standard to decommission the device. So in this case, B is AWS responsibility. So earlier we got like IBM laptops, ThinkPad. So you can purchase that laptops. Even I purchased that laptop for 12,000 rupees in 2009, I believe. But it came without hard disk. See, if you format a pen drive, can you get the data? We can. We have many recovery tools, hundreds of the recovery tools. By using some free tools, you can get 20 to 30%. But if you are using paid, you can get 80% of the data. If you format your hard disk drive for 10 times also, we can at least get 20 to 30% of the data back. So that's why organizations, they won't give, or if they want to give away, even some companies, they will give to NGOs, right? Their devices. They will take out that existing hard disk, they will put a new brand new hard disk drive and they will give that. Like day before yesterday or this week, something is happening in my organization. Like it's not Thanksgiving, it's giving away our happiness, something a week. No, not Halloween. That's already done, right? So I need to open that mail channel. So we gave away some laptops. There we did the same. Some kindness, forgiveness. You need to thank something. That's a completely US thing. No. Thanksgiving, it's there, right? Many offers, Black Friday sales. So yes, Veterans Day also completed. Yeah. So which AWS service produces a secure, fast and cost-effective way to migrate or transport exabyte scale data sets into AWS? He's talking about exabyte scale. Sure. So AWS Batch, no, it's not a migration service. Then Snowball, we can, but we have variants like a 50 dB, 80 dB, 100 dB. So he's talking about exabyte. So migration hub, no. So then you can go with the Snowmobile as it is an exabyte scale. So then this. Sure. Yeah. World Kindness Day. Yes, KMS is a service. Okay, so I think this is like we have two more questions. So quick. What are the security options you can add for an IAM user? Select two. D and E, yes. Right, I am getting a lot of right answers. And these all like most of these questions, like it's a cloud practitioner and solution architect. And don't ask me how you got these questions and all. So AWS Cloud's multiple regions are an example of. AWS Global Infrastructure contains mainly three components. What are those? Regions, availability zones, and edge locations. So only is talking about region, so that is part of AWS Global Infrastructure. So agility, elasticity, pay as you go, these are advantages. Okay, with enterprise support plan, which one you are going to get? Technical project manager or technical account manager or cloud support engineer? All. There is no option like that. So in MSET, if I find any option like all of the above or none of the above, I select that only. So but we don't have that option here. Okay. Only Ravi said B. B, technical account manager. It is enterprise support plan. So that's why I asked you to spend some time on that. Let's quickly look into that. Support center. View support plans. Scroll down. Here, technical assistant management. You are going to get a technical account manager. Designate a technical account manager to proactively monitor your environment and assist with your optimization for enterprise support plan. So, Ravi is right here. Most of you guys are went with D. Now, so under enterprise, technical account manager TAM. Okay, this one we'll talk now. Okay, so now let's start with the EC2. But before that, I want to take feedback. Are we going good? Are we going fast? Are we going slow? Based on that, I'll change my phase. Right? Because I really don't know your learning phase, your learning speed, and all right. So I want to adjust myself. So please inform me if I'm going fast. Inform me if I'm going slow or if I want to change something. So you can personally write an email. I believe everybody have my email. I'll definitely read and I'll definitely consider. And even I got an email like yesterday, today morning itself, one guy completed his certification in AWS. Yeah. So there he completed his certification. Just want to share some good news. On the weekend, I completed AWS Solution Architect Associate certification and he's planning to take SysApps also. So definitely you can crack certifications. Don't worry. Try to understand, try to learn the subject. Forget about the questions and all. If you know the subject, if you know the concept, definitely you can answer any kind of questions. So, okay, right. And by end of this course, I'm going to share many documents. Yes.
Our client is he has production data based on
Okay.
They are working on the prices here. So now they want to move to AWS.
Okay.
So as a class solution architect, they have around 200 terabytes of data.
Okay.
So as an architect, what way should we suggest them to move all their data? And suppose we have around 40 EC2 instances. It's regarding the so
okay.
How we should help them to move their data?
I got that. So here I got a question from Classroom. The question is like related to migration. So the data is 200 TB data. So for 200 TB data, getting Snowball is not a recommended option. So we have Snowball Edge capacity is 100 TB. Get 200 TB devices, copy all the data continuously. When you connect both, you can continuously move all your data from SAN or NAS. Then you can ship that. You are going to get all your data into AWS. So the cost like is going to be $500. In $500, you are going to migrate all your data to AWS instead of wasting bandwidth, instead of spending some time over uploading internet. That is a option I can give you for storage. So when coming to servers, we have different options. One is SMS connector. server migration service. Another one is like we have options like a Cloud Endure. Amazon acquired that organization recently, so you are going to get some licenses. So by using that, you can migrate. So I'll talk about that server in our coming sessions. Why? Because we really don't know the mechanisms and all. So when coming to storage part, as you said, like a 200 TB, I'll suggest you to go with the two Snowball Edge devices and migrate all the data. So now you know that appliances, right? Based on the requirement, you need to suggest that. Okay. So now so this is important service, guys, EC2. And without EC2, you cannot crack any interview or you cannot perform anything on AWS. So EC2 stands for Elastic, not Cloud Compute, it is Compute Cloud. Elastic Compute Cloud. Okay. So you know Elastic means, right? It's like a rubber band, you can scale up, you can scale down, that elasticity, right? So then compute, again, let's keep that aside, and cloud. So when coming to cloud, we know now what exactly cloud is. Just Amazon's computer in our case, and you can access that resources anywhere from the world in simple. So when coming to this compute, you want to purchase a brand new laptop. What are the components you are going to take care about? Those all are computing resources. In simple. What components you are going to worry? RAM, that is nothing but memory. Processor, RAM, hard disk. Yeah, processor, that is nothing but CPU. And hard disk is nothing but storage. So then, that's it. You're not going to worry about networking part. Whether LAN is enabled or not, Wi-Fi is enabled or not, Bluetooth is enabled or not. If yes, what is the Bluetooth version and what is the Wi-Fi supported version, site 0.11, B by G by N, there. These all, you are going to verify that, right? Sure. Those are all network only. So you need to verify network part. So then, we're not going to verify applications. What OS we are getting, what free softwares you are getting, what 1 year subscriptions we are going to get. So you need to worry about applications and softwares also. Applications or softwares. So in simple, these all computing resources we are going to get from AWS. You can access anywhere. And if you want to increase, you can increase. If you want to decrease, you can decrease with minimal management efforts and no service provider interaction. Okay, let's take traditional scenario. So I'll show you. We have a branch office in Vizag location. So I believe in 2017. So when we decided to, where is that? When we need to purchase some, we need to purchase some servers. We want to, that's a, we decided in 2015, I believe, 2015. So we decided to start one branch office in Vizag. So at that time, we want to purchase some servers and we got quotation from different, so these are some quotations from one organization, from different organizations, and some comparisons, and another organization quotations, different organizations and comparisons, and Dallas Network Room, Tampa ones, and finally we analyzed everything and we went with AWS. That is the last thing. So, but if you want to purchase or if you decided to start building everything from scratch, so it involved with a lot of things. Let's talk about only servers. When coming to only servers, so here, first of all, that IT manager, he is going to decide the server configuration. Again, at moment you have only 100 customers or 1000 customers. So you're not going to purchase a server for only 1,000 customers, right? So you're going to keep your coming 5 years or 10 years requirements in mind. Then you're going to finalize the configuration. We really don't know whether that application is going to be hit or flop. That is going to gain market shares or not, forget about that. But we assume it is going to be a good application and many customers are going to use that. So then we need to keep the requirements in mind. That's the first thing. So you need to provision the capacity. You need to worry about that capacities. When coming to AWS, you really don't need to worry about that capacity provisionings. At moment, if you have 100 customers, okay, select small configuration. Tomorrow you are getting 1,000 customers, okay, increase that, stop and increase. Take a minimal maintenance window, upgrade that. Day after tomorrow you are getting millions of requests, yes. Again, suddenly the traffic is down. No issues, stop some of the servers or terminate some of the servers and downgrade that. You know, FaceApp, huge hit. But how many days you use that application? Are you still using that? Now, when the application came, immediately you uploaded your all pictures. Millions of the customers uploaded their pictures, and they have, you know. So we are very curious, right? How we are going to look like after 10 years or 15 years. You downloaded that and you removed that application. So that application got boom for only certain period. Now nobody is using, right? So just for that particular duration, are you going to build a data center? If you want to, first of all, you cannot build that within that short span. Second thing, now very less customers. So many empty resources he may have if he build a data center. So what they did, they went with cloud. Okay, now the traffic is huge, add hundreds of the servers. Tomorrow traffic is less, okay, remove some. We can automate the processes based on load. So that elasticity is available here in cloud. So you really don't need to worry about the capacity provisionings. So in traditional, first we need to finalize a configuration. Let's assume he finalized a configuration like 32 virtual CPUs and 128 GB of the RAM capacity and like let's assume 8 TB hard disk drive. So then again, he is not going to go out and he is going to purchase. He will give this quotation to accounting department or billing department or purchasing department basically. They will send this quotation to different vendors. Dell, HP, Rackspace, Fujitsu, OchoStream, and they will give to many of the local vendors also. So finally, they all going to send their quotations. You need to analyze all that quotations. Whoever quoted less price with best configurations, best support plans. So you are going to pick 2 or 3. You are going to call that in person to discuss. You are going to discuss with them. So finally, let's assume one organization. Let's assume Dell is giving at less price. So what they will tell you? They will tell, okay, you need to pay 100% upfront first, 100% along with PO. This is what the term mentioned in that that agreements. Along with your purchase order, you need to pay 100% amount now. Then only they are going to process your order. So again, are they going to deliver immediately? No. They will take minimum of 3 to 4 weeks time. Then they will deliver that. Again, only server is not sufficient. Along with server, you need to take care about lot of additional or external factors like you need to where you are going to place the server. You need to have a server rack. That server is going to generate a lot of heat and all, and it need proper humidity for proper lifetime. And that floor also matter, and that server room physical security also matter. So you need to take care about all that external factors also. So you need to invest on that. So again, when server comes, you need to raise a ticket, and in next business day, the executive will come and is going to unpack and is going to verify the service tag. Generally, servers will have its service tag. Even nowadays, laptops also coming with service tags. So he's going to verify, he's going to inspect that configuration. ఏం నిద్ర వస్తుందా? Take some water. అప్పటి నుంచి చూస్తున్నా. Okay, so sorry. So he's going to mount that into server rack, and now IT team need to start working on that. Install OS. So first they need to test that application. Then after they are going to push that application to production environment. So till that time it will not be available to all the end customer. So for server delivery itself, it is going to take 3 to 4 weeks. So you have used that FaceTime, right? Suddenly overnight many guys started using that. So can you wait for 3 to 4 weeks to increase that infrastructure? No. Or else whenever you are uploading, if that application is stuck or if it is not allowing you to perform that operation, so will you use that application? Will you show some interest over that application? No. So when coming to AWS EC2, you really no need to worry about provisioning capacities. And whenever you got positive, increase the resources. Whenever you got some negativity or the load is less, you can immediately decrease the resource capacity. So this operation is nothing but scale up. This is nothing but scale down the resources. Again, scale in and scale up, that is different. So you are going to scale up the resource, you are going to scale down the resource based on your requirement. Okay, so that is one of the advantage. When coming to EC2 instance servers category, this is a regular thing, guys. Just regular example why you need to go with EC2 and all. When coming to EC2 technical terms, we have different instance categories. So you must understand this. You are going to get certification questions from this. So based on our use case, we are going to choose one of this. The first one is on-demand EC2 instances. When coming to on-demand EC2 instances, here we are going to get charged hourly basis. So this is the first time you want to explore Amazon Web Services. Let's assume this is the first time and you really don't know how your application is going to work on AWS, or you really not sure about configuration also. What configuration you required for stable application performance. So in that case, go and choose on demand. No contract, no commitment with Amazon Web Services. How many hours you are running, you are going to get charged for that. And Amazon recently started per second billing also, but with minimum of 10 seconds. With minimum of 10 seconds. That means if you are using 2 hours, 50 minutes, 6 seconds, you are going to get charged 2 hours for 2 hours 51. So with minimum of like a minimum of 10 seconds, it is going to treat like a you can calculate. I believe you know that mechanism. So here the use case is you really don't have any predictable use cases or workloads. Unpredictable workloads or use case, or if you want to test your application, if you want to test your application for the first time, then you can choose this option. Then you can choose this. So you went here, you deployed your application, not sufficient, okay, immediately change the configuration. So updated bill will start. Change the configuration, upgrade or downgrade. So that's the first one, on demand. So and the pricing per hour or per second billing with minimum of 10 seconds. That means you launched a server, you have run that for 5 seconds and you terminated. You are going to get billed for 10 seconds. Remember that. And most of the instances will come with per second, but some will still have per hour. So that's why I mentioned that here. So that is the first one. Second one, okay, I tested my application in on demand and I got a conclusion. Okay, this is what the suitable configuration I required. My application is very stable with this configuration. So I want to, and again, I'm happy with AWS pricing performance compared to another cloud. So I decided to continue with AWS for coming 5 years or 10 years. So in that case, do I really need to pay hourly basis? No. What you can do is you can choose reserved instances category. Advantage is the capacity will be reserved. And here in on demand, there is no guarantee. For example, now you launched, you are running, and later on, if you keep in running state, that's okay. But you terminated that. After some days, you try to launch in episode 1A. That is completely full. Amazon automatically asks you to launch in 1B. But in reserved instance, not like that. The capacity will be reserved in availability zone. Okay, if you want change, you can. That is the secondary thing. When coming to reserved instances, if you have stable workloads, you can go with this reserved instances. Stable workloads. Okay, and here we need to take a contract or contract from AWS. Again, this contract is for 1 year or 3 years. Don't ask me why they don't have 2 years or 10 years plans. I really don't know. But we have only 1 year and 3 years. So for 1 year or 3 years, you can choose that and you can pay amount based on the pricing option we are going to choose. Then you will get that. So you will get significant discount compared to on-demand EC2 instances here. Okay. When coming to different types, here the first one is standard reserved instance. When coming to standard reserved instance, while purchasing reserved instance, you need to mention your required configuration. Okay. So if you choose standard reserved instance, you cannot change that configuration for selected 1 year or 3 years. So if you are pretty sure about that configuration, then only go with standard reserved. If you have any thoughts to upgrade that in future, then go with convertible reserved instance. Here we cannot change or we cannot upgrade. Downgrade is not possible. We cannot upgrade the configuration. The configuration is going to be fixed, but when coming to convertible, we can change the configuration in future. So as they are giving that flexibility, they will cost us bit more compared to standard reserved, like a $10 to $200 based on the instant type you are selecting. So it is going to vary. Along with this, we got a new one that is scheduled reserved instance. Scheduled reserved instance. When coming to scheduled reserved instances, so you have a use case like this. You want to run a server from Monday morning to Friday evening. You don't require that server on Saturday, Sunday. With the same mechanism, you want to run for 1 year. For coming 1 year, I want to run a server from Monday morning to Saturday, Friday evening. So do I really go to, if I go with the standard reserved, again, convertible reserved instance, it is going to give it flexibility, but not, it will not work like. But when coming to scheduled, yes. So I have a simple image for this from AWS official documentation, scheduled reserved instances. So you can purchase the required capacity. that runs on daily, weekly or monthly basis with a specific start time for 1 year term. Only 1 year term is available. So here, check the availability. Required configuration is available or not. If it is available, purchase that. So you have taken 1 year duration for this. Now schedule time begins. In our case, schedule time when it begins? Monday morning. Then it is going to launch instance. It is going to run. Schedule time ended. Friday evening it got ended. Then it is going to terminate. Again, it will wait for Monday morning. It is going to run automatically. So instance is going to terminate. It will wait for schedule time begin, schedule time end. Till 1 year, this is going to happen. So this is a scheduled reserved instance. So we can run daily, okay. So again, these are the different types. These three are the different types, okay. When coming to pricing, pricing related to reserved instance, not related to any other categories. When coming to pricing, here we have three different pricings. Just assume it as a EMI scheme. So you know, we have three types of, right? So one is zero down payment. That means you really don't need to pay anything now. You need to pay everything in monthly basis. Okay. So second one is 30 to 40% down payment now, remaining monthly basis. Third one, pay everything now, no commitment, no monthly basis. You are paying everything. So exactly same way, we have full upfront, pay 100% now. No contract, no commitment with AWS. It's a one-time cost. It's a one-time cost. Second one is partial upfront. When coming to partial upfront, here pay 30 to 40% amount now. Again, it varies. 30 to 50, let's take. Pay 30 to 50% now. Remaining monthly basis based on running hours. Based on running hours, you can get this. That means, let's assume one instance per hour cost is $1. $1 per hour. So if you want to go with partial upfront, so like by end of the year, let's assume the cost is going to be $1,000. Now, whenever you are going with partial upfront, pay $400 now. Then what Amazon will do? They will reduce this $1 per hour to like let's say 40 cents per hour. Again, are we going to get charged for all the 750 hours? No. How many hours you are running? For those many hours only you are going to. For example, in a month you have not run that. You are not going to get any bill with this updated pricing. So whenever you pay 30 to 50% for that instance, some of the amount, then hourly rate is going to reduce. You are going to get charged for that hourly rate for coming 1 year, or 3 years. That is a partial upfront. The next one is no upfront. This is the price almost same as on only. The pricing on monthly basis only. That is a pricing option for reserved instance. Any question here? No questions. Okay, I have a question. So you purchased one server for 3 years. You assumed you need that server for coming 3 years, and you spend like a $5,000 or $7,000. You purchase a server, but later on, after 3 months, you realize you really don't require that server. What you're going to do? You already paid. Let's assume you have taken that under full upfront standard reserved instance. What you can do now? Sell it back to AWS. AWS won't take that. We can sell it in AWS Marketplace. Yes. Take that instance, register as a seller in AWS Marketplace, and sell your instance. Whoever need that, they are going to purchase. So, AWS Marketplace is a place where we can sell or you can buy any kind of application, buy applications. For example, you need a VPN server. You really don't know how to configure that. Simply go to AWS Marketplace, look for your required application. It is going to come with pre-configured settings, including software, including licenses also will some come. Amazon is going to cost a bit for AWS usage cost. Application cost and instance, we can choose that. So along with that, some AWS cost, we are taking some application from AWS Marketplace. Let's look into that now. So here under AWS dashboard, under AWS cost management, you can find AWS Marketplace subscriptions. By default, it is going to show my existing subscriptions, but we can look for the applications also. So it is available only in Northern Virginia. That is a billing region, right? So here, if you want to manage subscriptions, you can manage. And if you want to discover products, go here, click on discover products. So this is a place where you can discover required products and you can get that. For example, you need an EC2 instance with CAS standards. That is one of the particular standard. So CAS, CentOS Linux 7 benchmarks level 1. So you can read this, you can get that. Or else you are looking for some OpenVPN. That's a VPN solution. You can just go here, OpenVPN access server with 10 connected devices, 5 connected devices, 25, 50 licenses in simple. And see this, starting from 40 cents per hour. This is a 20% savings if you are going with the yearly plan plus AWS usage fees. Okay, so this is how exactly you can discover products from AWS Marketplace and you can subscribe to that. You can start using that. So I do not have any subscriptions at the moment, but in our VPC we are going to subscribe 1 or 2 tools. Okay, so there you can sell this. Now we have another category, instance category, that is spot instances. When coming to spot instance, here mainly use case is if you have flexible start and stop time, then go with this option. The use case is if our application have flexible start or stop time or features, then you can go with this. Why? Because you're going to bid a price against Amazon's price. If price is increased, Amazon is going to terminate our instance. price is within the quoted limit or equal to that, then only we will have our instance. If it is increased, Amazon will terminate that instance. Okay. So here we can create a spot fleet group of instances in simple. So again, while creating, Amazon will give you suggestions. So if it is like a spot fleet is strong, then less chances to get terminated. And we can set up our maximum price. Okay, this is what the maximum price I can offer for this instance. Let's assume you have one instance. Let's take T3 medium is an instance category. We'll talk about that in our next session. Don't worry at the moment. So you have one configuration, and you have observed the price is $1 per hour. I need that, but I really don't want to spend $1 per hour. I'm okay to spend 30 cents for this instance. And I can give a duration also, okay, from today. So like let's assume like 11/18 to 11/25. I'm okay to get this instance. If any price is reduced equal to I quoted one or less than I quoted one, I'm okay to get that EC2 instance. If it is decreased, immediately is going to launch an EC2 instance for us and it will run. After that, if price is increased, Amazon will immediately terminate that. Again, how we can get, okay, how much price I can quote for this instance and all? We have Spot Advisor. First thing, and along with that, we have pricing history. Have Spot Advisor and pricing history. By looking into this pricing history, okay, this is what the on-demand price, and if I quote at this price, okay, I'm getting this. So from last 10 days, this is what the spot price is trending. So no spikes or no spikes in that graph flow, then you can just go there and you can quote that price. Or else, if any spikes are there, the price is increasing for 1 hour, decreasing in 1 hour. In that case, you can do one thing, you can set up your maximum price. Till that maximum price, below that maximum price, how many spikes, ups and downs happen, no issues. Why? Because it is happening below than your quoted one, right? So when it is reaching your quoted one or above that, then only it is going to terminate. I'll quickly show you all these categories. And one important thing when coming to certification point of view, so one instance is running from 1 hour 35 minutes and price increased and AWS terminated instance. In this case, price is increased and AWS terminated. We will not get charged for partial hours. The cost is going to be only 2 hours here. The 35 minutes is a partial hour, not a complete cycle, right? And we have not terminated, AWS terminated. The same thing you done with your use case, and we have terminated our instance after the same duration, and price not increased. This is an important one. So you are going to get charged for total duration 2 hours 35 minutes. You got this? Okay, let's look into these options now, the on demand and everything. Okay, let's navigate to the AWS dashboard, navigate to EC2. Again, EC2 is a region specific service. That means if you are launching any server in Mumbai region, you can view whenever you are in Mumbai region only. If you switch to any other region, you cannot find that, but it is going to run in Mumbai region. So that is why what I'm going to do is I'll always suggest you to work with 2 regions. I'm going to work always in Mumbai region, otherwise Northern Virginia, only 2 regions. So I can easily manage the resources. You can choose any. You really don't need to go same regions as mine. So you can pick any 2 regions, you can easily monitor. So if you are selecting regions randomly, you may launch a server in Sydney and you may forget that. When you go to that Sydney, then only you can find. Otherwise, you need to go to billing dashboard, you need to observe that. So I'll navigate to Mumbai region, and again latency also matters. If you're running in Northern Virginia, we will get some latencies. Even keystrokes also matter, right? That is also latency. Keyboard input will take some time to reach that server. So when it is in Mumbai, it is going to be pretty quick. So I'm navigating to EC2. Now, first one is on demand. So if you are following this wizard, whenever you are clicking launch instance, and whenever you are following this wizard, that is nothing but on demand instance. You are going to get charged hourly basis. That's the first thing. Okay. Here under instances, you find reserved instances. Go to reserved instances. Okay. So go to reserved instances. Here, when you click on purchase reserved instances, it gives you options. What operating system platform you required? Tenancy, we'll talk about that. Offering class, you want to go with the convertible or standard. Instant type, we'll talk about this one also. Term, you want to go with 1 year term or 3 years term. I'll go with the 1 year term with the Linux operating system and very small configuration like a T2 micro. Payment option, do you want to go with all payment options or any particular payment option? So I'll choose any, let's observe. See, again, I selected convertible as well as standard. I'm selecting standard, click on search. Under standard, I have 3 pricing options. One is all upfront, another one is partial upfront, third one is no upfront. All upfront, see, only one time cost is $63, no hourly rate. When coming to partial upfront, I need to pay $32 now. Then effective hourly rate is going to reduce to 4 cents. When coming to no upfront, you really no need to pay anything now. You are going to get charged hourly basis. Again, how many capacities you require, you can select that. That is standard. Again, I want to go with the standard as well as convertible, but I want to go with the full upfront, all upfront. So in both the cases, I'm going to pay all amount at a time, but this is a standard, cost is 63. This is a convertible, cost is 73. Just because of they are giving a flexibility, right? We can convert that configuration, we can upgrade that configuration. So that's why they are costing us $10 more here. Based on instance category, it changes. Okay. So this is a reserved. You can view card, you can purchase, but you really don't require any reserved instances. So don't purchase any. So that is a reserve. The third one is spot. While launching instance in on-demand, you can launch it as a spot. That is a one option. And second one option is you can create a spot request. Go to instances, we look into both. Go to instances, click on launch instance. I'm selecting one operating system and I'm selecting one configuration and here purchasing options. Request spot instances. See, this is an availability zone. This is a current price for that availability zone. How much you want to quote? How much you want to quote for this EC2 instance, you can give that here. And if you want to repeat this request, you can select this and interruption behavior. You can select that. We will talk about that in our next session. And from what date to what date this request is going to be valid. You can choose that one. Okay. So that is another option. Otherwise, you can create a request here under spot request. Go here. But again, how much price I can quote? There I have an option to quote But how much I can quote? So you can go to this pricing history, go here, and what operating system, what category you are talking about. For example, M4 large, and price range I'm observing only last 3 hours. Let's take last 1 day. The price is constant. Let's take last 1 month. See, here the price is, this is on demand price. This is on demand price. That is 10 cents per hour. But trending spot price is 3 cents here for the selected configuration. So again, later on it is reduced. From what date it is constant, you can observe it here. So from last 1 week, the price is constant. So I can quote this price and I can get the instance. But how it is decreased, I have chances to increase also, right? If increase, immediately Amazon is going to terminate that instance. So in that case, what I can do is, I can set up a maximum price. Okay, $5 is my maximum price. In between, if small spikes happen, will that affect? If these spikes, it will not affect. Why? Because I am okay to spend maximum 5 cents for this instance. Otherwise, sometimes it may hit this also. Some instances you will get like a huge spikes based on the category you are selecting. See this, it is increasing, it is decreasing. See this. So in this case, what I can do? I can define a maximum price equal to on demand. How many spikes I am going to get here? No issues. Okay. So the maximum price we can select under spot category is equal to on demand pricing, not more than that. So here I can give my maximum price as a this, then I'll get an EC2 instance. Okay. This is pricing history. Amazon's official pricing history, and we have many third-party websites also who continuously monitor and suggest that, but I'll strongly suggest you to go with this. Now, create a request spot instances. Click on this. Now, this is use cases. So how many hours you required also you can give this. So launch instances into a spot block for 1 to 6 hours. So you are going to get instances for 1 hour or 6 hours. You can choose that, or big data workload, or flexible workloads, or load balancing workloads. Now scroll down and here select what operating system you required, what configuration you required, what instance configuration you required. See, this is spot pricing. Compared to on demand, you can save 71%. So you can save this much percentage. This is a spot price, is trending. You can look into that. So you can select one category. Again, this VPC, availability zones, key pairs, we'll talk about that. Understand the mechanism at moment. How many capacities you required, you can get that. And again, it is going to apply recommendations automatically. Uncheck that. And here is an option. So you can configure the pricing. See, this request is going to be valid from this particular date to this particular date. After this duration, what do you want to do? You want to terminate the existing instances. If this option is selected, it is going to terminate automatically. After selected duration 1 year is selected there. After 1 year, it is going to delete. Again, maximum pricing. You can go with the default. That means the price is going to change with that ups and downs. That is one option. Or you can set a maximum price. Okay, I'm okay to give maximum price for this. Again, if you're trying to give $1 or $2, it will not accept. Why? Because it should not exceed this on-demand pricing. So that is a spot instance. And we can bid our own price against Amazon's price. Simple mechanism. But we must have a flexibility to stop the instance or start the instance. We really don't know price when it will increase or when it will decrease. So, but again, whenever you are setting this maximum pricing, very, very less chances to terminate that instances. So the fleet strength is strong here. That means less chances for interruptions. So that is a spot instance. Again, reserved and spot will not come under free tier eligibility. It will not come under free tier eligibility. Only on-demand instances will come under free tier eligibility. Okay. So just read about this. So don't launch any instances. So we will look into how we can launch our first instance in our next session. That means tomorrow we'll discuss that. And I'll suggest everyone to start going through that Linux course. So I'll show you how to get connected and how to perform basic operations. But if you need to gain more knowledge on that Linux, make sure you start going through that. So spend it's just a 6 hours videos, guys. I believe 6 hours, not more than that. So every day 1 hour is sufficient. Again, I've added lot of Linux administration things also. But those all things we really don't require. If you want to understand this AWS, so only how you can make that as a web server. So only that part is sufficient for us. So we have a couple of questions. We'll discuss that now, but I'm getting some questions here. I'll take that. So if AWS terminates our server, we lose our application right. Well, will they contact customer before terminating? Amazon is going to give a 2 minutes warning period. We can configure that 2 minutes warning period. So again, we can choose instead of terminate, we can choose stop option. So instance is going to stop instead of terminate. So now, for example, where is that spot termination? So for example, I'll talk about what exactly these in our coming session. Just as per your question, I'm explaining you this. So whenever spot price is increasing, if Amazon is going to terminate or interrupt, I'm not talking about terminate. It may be terminate or it may be stop operation. So if you want to get a notification, you can select this EC2 spot instance interruption warning. Yesterday you created one topic, right? Day before yesterday. Choose a SNS topic, important notifications. Then click on configure, give a name. So to who all are subscribed to this particular topic, they will get a notification. Okay, price is increased. Amazon is going to trigger an interruption warning in next 2 minutes. Then you can take an appropriate action. You can get a notification. You can ask Amazon to stop that, or you can ask Amazon to terminate that if price is increased. So I hope that clears your question, Pushpa Kumar. So why we are seeing only standard and convertible when scheduled reserved instance will come into the picture? So even I have same doubt. So we need to contact AWS for that scheduled reserved instances. Not only here, even I switched to Northern Virginia also. So like a month back, there also it is not available. But again, in technical all documentations, Amazon mentioned that. So I believe we need to contact AWS for that, Satarupa. So I'm facing installation issue with Linux. So what exactly that issue, Kamaldeep? So you can practice in AWS. Wait for 1 or 2 sessions. I'll show you how you can launch in AWS and how you can get connected to Linux instance. Then you can practice everything on top of AWS Linux. Okay. So any more questions, guys?
In this 2 minute period, bidding price,
we can modify. I have one question I want to not this. Can you answer this question?
yeah.
3 hours? See, yes, 3 hours, 6 minutes we are going to, with minimum of 10 seconds, right? So as it is 6 seconds, so it is going to add 1 more minute here. So 3 hours, 6 minutes. is one question, and I have another one also. Can you answer this? Zero. Sure. Simple. First thing, Spot instance is terminated by AWS. So AWS terminated that. First thing. Second thing, is it completed any complete billing cycles? Yes. We are going to get charged for complete billing cycles. In this case, no. So no. For that, partial hover. So A is the right answer here. Okay. So these are some questions, and we even have some more questions. We will discuss that. We are running out of time actually now. So we'll discuss a couple of questions related to these instances. What instance you are going to choose based on the use case. We'll discuss all those things in our next session. So in our next session, we are going to discuss how we can launch our first EC2 instance. Okay. So see you again tomorrow, guys. Thank you.